down, yelling out money, anything. Ayy, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back. Ayy, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast. Ayy, ayy, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss. Ayy.
This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Thursday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys here today. I'm really looking forward to speaking with him and his company and everything. And, you know, we're like, the slogan for this show has always been, for the 90% of the industry that gets 10% of the recognition. And it's always about that this industry, the American trucking industry, is built on family-owned, multi-generation companies. And we're going to talk about that today and really making it through markets, decades, everything that's thrown at it, and what are some of those core principles to long-term success. So I have Mr. John Pemberton of Pemberton Truck Lines on the show today. John, thank you so much for taking the time to join me this morning.
Hello, how are you doing? Good to be here.
No, I appreciate it, and I can't wait to dive into this stuff, because like we were saying before we started recording, John, like what you and your family have built is the embodiment of the industry. And it's those family-owned, multi-generation trucking companies and freight brokerages that are out there that are striving to continue to do the right thing, no matter what market hurdles or economic hurdles are thrown at us and everything. And, before we get into any of that, how'd you guys get your start in freight? I always like to lead in these shows with that.
Well, it actually, it started a long time ago after World War II. My grandfather and uncle, it was a regulated industry at that time. They had a couple of lanes, and they, with another partner, started a trucking company. After Korea, my dad got involved, and they worked that for about 10 years. Things went sideways. I don't know all the details about it with the partner. So they rolled that into a trailer leasing company and ran that for about 20 years. And then in 1980, deregulation came. And my dad and another uncle started the company, and they started with one employee in 1982, and that employee is still with us today. She's been with us 44 years and still comes to work every day and does a fantastic job.
I love that, right? 44 years at any company, let alone working in the same industry, it's almost unheard of at this point, like that's a very unique situation. But that goes into, a lot of people talk about culture, but John, like you guys have truly built a winning culture internally then to retain people like that.
We have worked very hard to build a culture. Honestly, it starts with the standard you set. You don't accept second level performance or anything like that. You've got to start at the top and expect the best from everybody. And it trickles down to where nobody wants to disappoint or let their teammates down or let their coworkers down. So everybody has this level of expectation that we want to achieve. And it starts, honestly, it starts at the top and works its way down to the drivers as well. The drivers feel the same way. They buy into it. We all want to do our best and take care of each other and take care of our customers.
So let's start with that, because what you said there, that top-down leadership, those standards, and that's something that I think is, it's kind of all over the headlines right now in the industry, a lack thereof in regards to standards and what has kind of driven some of those things out there. How do you kind of block out all of that noise and set that tone from the top down?
Well, you just don't accept shortcuts or anything like that. It's really bleeds over into every part of your life as well. You want to do the best that you can. You teach that to your children, your employees. You just don't accept mediocre work. If you accept mediocre work, you're going to get it. So you have to demand that of yourself. I think our employees deserve the best that I have to offer. And then, as I said, it bleeds down, and everybody wants to help each other. It's a real team effort to help each other and not let anybody down.
Mm-hmm. How is that learned? That's something, like, to come to a conclusion like that, John, and to set those standards, that most people don't just wake up. Everybody, I think, has the right intentions, but I've gotten to this point now. And again, like I said, I'm still young, but like, I'm going to be 40 in a couple of months. And one thing I've learned as a definitive fact in life is if you skimp on small things, you will skimp on big things. You always sit here and say like, oh, I'd never do that in that situation. But you do, because if you do it in one area of your life, like you were talking about, it will inevitably bleed into multiple areas of your life.
Well, I like that phrase. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And so it starts with our onboarding process. We have a really good team that goes over the expectations with all of our drivers and new employees. I personally meet with all of them, tell them what the expectations are, tell them we're here to help them. We want them to be successful, but we have certain expectations. And if they aren't met, we're going to talk about it and come up with ways. It's not punitive. Come up with ways to get better and to improve. Because I think that's one of my jobs is to help everybody get better and improve at what they do. So it starts with the onboarding process. It's something we repeat every day in our daily huddles and daily communications, is give your best for each other and for our customers.
Mm-hmm. What have been some of those early learning moments in building up your company? I know that might be hard to kind of summarize, but can you think back at some of the key definitive moments of like building the company, being a part of this, and knowing that, hey, this kind of changed the trajectory of the course of our business?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm kind of standing on the shoulders of other people who came before me, my dad and my brother, and I'm built upon what they've done. But there was what I can recall, back in 2008, 2009, the economy was not very good, and a lot of people were really struggling. So we were fortunate enough to win a couple of key accounts that were very service oriented. You had to be on time, and so we really doubled and tripled down on making sure and over communicated with our drivers and the customers how important it was. And really, it's been a snowball effect. If I had to pick a moment in time, I would say it's around that time, and it's been a snowball effect since then.
Mm-hmm. Is that so? When it comes down to customer service and and taking care of this, how are you guys out there approaching business, right? Because I say this from the standpoint, John, that I think sometimes people think customer relationships are recyclable, right? Like, oh, we'll just go find new business. We'll go out there and do that. How are you approaching that? Because again, 40 plus years in business, that's not an accident, it's very, very challenging to get in. Most people don't even start, but if they do start, they don't make it past the first year. How are you guys approaching that?
Well, you have to think long term. That's one thing that I do, is I'm constantly thinking 5 or 10 years ahead It's about long-term relationships. You don't want to jeopardize those just for a short-term quick win. You've got to be thinking long-term of what's important, what's best for the company and for the customer, and look ahead and not try to get the cheap dopamine hit just for the day, but instead, look long-term down the road.
How do you do that? I think that's the thing that, you go out there and I've been in the industry personally for about 20 years. I've been a broker for 15 of those years. And I know the key lessons that I learned on why I operate in the manner you're describing right now. But what are some of those things to help people understand the longevity of it, right? Because you go out there and you're trying to develop business. Selling is not easy at all under any circumstances, any market that's out there. And then when people get the business, they try and maximize their percentage only, and they don't look at the other parties in the transaction.
No, it definitely has to be a win-win for both parties in the transaction. And sure, you can get ahead of the game in the first quarter, but you're shooting yourself in the foot for a 4-quarter game. You've got to look at the long-term implications of every decision, and think about, as I said, what's best for the company. It's all about relationships. My father told me one of the first days I came here, this is a people business, and you've got to take care of your people, your customers, your employees, and you do that, they'll take care of you. And most customers are good with that. They're very, very loyal as well, as long as you treat them right and do a good job. You have to do a good job, and we've got a culture in our company where we're able to do a good job with our customers, and they reward us with some growth.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give? You guys have built, your truck, you guys are over 150 trucks at this point. It looks like, almost 500 trailers in your fleet and everything. What are some of those key principles that have kind of stood the test of time as you've grown, that younger fleet owner, might only have 1 or 2 trucks right now? They're looking to get to that 5 truck level. What are some of those key principles that have kind of stood as you guys have grown?
Well, you've got to have grit, determination, and keep through it, even if things don't look good. You got to believe in yourself. I really think it's very important to have clarity on what you want to achieve. You have that goal sitting out there of what you want to achieve, and you figure it out. You find a way to do it. If this customer isn't working out, you just beat the heck out of the doors of the other customers and continue on, and don't give up. Don't quit.
Mm-hmm. How important is it to build stability in your business early on, instead of chasing revenue and chasing dollars that might put you in a bad market to get back out of? And, because the most successful trucking companies I have spoken with on this show, and, my dad did this when he drove as well. He pretty much stayed in the same region the entire time. He never was a revenue chaser to go all across the country. He kind of defined his core service region and stayed there.
This is my favorite book right here, Good to Great by Jim Collins. I don't know if you've read it or not, but he talks about, the hedgehog effect and focusing on what you do well, and minding the heck out of it. Just do what you do well and continue on with that. So I think that's very important, is to just figure out what your niche is, and wear it out as best you can, and try not to get sidetracked on a lot of other shiny, fancy objects at the peripheral of where you're trying to go, and just focus on what you're good at. And that's what we've been able to do. We've found what we're good at, and we attract drivers who want that and like that, and so we've been able to have success around it.
I talk about that core principle on this show a lot is finding your niche and sticking in it. And I think at times they're enamored when they hear, I don't even know, $1 trillion industry or 900 billion, whatever number it keeps going up to out there. So they think they need to do everything, right? Like they think that they have to go out there and be everything to anyone. And I've just found, especially in this market, it stands out more when you're trying to develop new business, when you're trying to develop that. No, because like we specialize in open deck and heavy haul inside of my operation. That's the only customers we're going after, and that stands out there. And I look at it is getting business is one thing, and then servicing it is a completely different scenario. And I think that if more people would just try and simplify what they're actually trying to do out there, I think more and more clarity and then more stability will inevitably come into their business or their operations.
Yeah, you have to have that clarity, and winning business and keeping business is different. One thing that we do really well is our customers have direct access to top leadership here. They don't get to run around. That if there's a question or a change, they reach out to me immediately. I answer the phone and we get it corrected. But back to your point about doing what you do well, it's easy to get sidetracked. Things are going okay, and you're going down the right path, and you think, oh, if we do this, we do that. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think that's the time to double down on what you really do good, and mine that for as much as you can.
Has that helped you guys kind of stand the test of time, John? Is really knowing your company's identity, your core service offering, and staying, for a lack of better term, staying in your lane?
Yeah, you've got to have the discipline to do it, and without a doubt, that's been a key part of it. People come to us. I'm sure they come to everybody with opportunities to do this or that, and you've got to have. I think I posted one time, saying no is a superpower. You've got to be able to say no to what look like good opportunities, and for some people, they might be a better opportunity. But for us, you've got to continue on the path of what you do well, what well, and go with that.
Mm-hmm. Is that because I look at it as a lot of the, at least from the asset side of things, right? Like finding customers and drivers is one thing, but then maintaining your fleet, maintaining your equipment, that's probably an entirely other conversation that we could probably do another hour episode on at minimum out there. But like, what pieces of advice would you give out there for those individuals when it comes to maintaining their fleet? Is it buying from the same OEM, right? Like only being a Freightliner guy or a Kenworth guy or a Great Dane guy for your trailers, to kind of simplify that? And does that help increase your purchasing power? Kind of get some tips on that.
Well, that is one philosophy. I actually don't do that. I use a couple different OEMs to kind of keep them competitive with each other. But we limit it to two. We only have one kind of engine. So it does standardize everything as far as your shop and your maintenance and your road repairs. If something were to happen, it makes it simpler with your network to find that. You do get some pricing power with it, but I think competition is a good thing. I think it makes people better. Otherwise, I think they can take relationships or partnerships for granted. So I do like to have the competition in there, and in order to get the best price for us as a company.
Mm-hmm. Now, would you say, because when it comes down to, again, like knowing your core region that you're running and kind of tying that into like a maintenance perspective, what advice would you give from like a preventative maintenance perspective? Is it kind of mapping out your shop route that's on there as well? In the event something happens, you kind of have an action plan in place that who to call in that moment, or what truck stop to hit up to go get your truck looked at in the event something happens.
Well, we definitely, we run a defined region, and so we've mapped that entire part of the country out, so we know where our preferred vendors are in those areas. We're also fortunate that we get a lot of our trucks back through, and we're in Knoxville, back through our home terminal often, so that definitely helps as well. But the more you can standardize it and as you say, have an answer or a plan before something happens. So when something does happen, you know who to call and who can take care of it for you for the quickest and best price. And I'll say, as far as preventive maintenance and PMs, those are so important. You know, you can skip them, but you'll pay for it later. So you've got to be very disciplined with that. Drivers will say they don't have time, or operations will say, well, we need them to do this or do that, but you got to have the discipline to get it done, or they're much more likely to break down out on the road, be more expensive, and could cause a service failure.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that that's a hidden financial drain on a lot of trucking companies that they don't necessarily account for right away? I mention it in other regards, but it's like, hey, take a couple of seconds to save some minutes on the back end. Do you think that that is a unintended hurdle that a lot of fleets find themselves in because they don't take that as serious as the level that they probably should?
Oh, without a doubt. I think a friend, mentor of mine, he wrote an article, something about maintenance is a black hole of expenses within trucking companies. And it definitely is. It's sort of like you can't see the, if it's not happened yet, it's a soft cost. You can't see it yet. And so you roll the dice and think it's going to be okay. But it comes back to bite you. And that's where the discipline part comes in. You've got to be disciplined, even though seemingly there's nothing wrong and the truck could go another 2,000 or 3,000 miles. If it's due, it's due. Go ahead and get it done to prevent something from major from happening on down the road.
Yeah, and because like I've had some my friends over at Coltrane. They've came on the show. They do like they come to you, right? Like, so any preventative maintenance, any stuff like that, any repairs, they can come out there. So it's like, I look at it now and like the tools that are at your disposal for a fleet or a trucking company now are vastly different, right? Like planning goes a very long way, right? Like, hey, you're going to be doing your 34-hour reset at home. Why not have a truck come by and service your truck where it's at, as opposed to on the side of the road, which I would assume 10x is your repair bill at that point, at minimum, if it doesn't need to be towed. And, it's just like those little things like that, I think, of just like building that solid fundamental that foundation in your business.
There's that. You're exactly right. There's a lot of innovative people and companies out there now that are doing things like that, not just with maintenance, but a lot of other items within our industry that can really save money and as you say, downtime. So anything you can do to get that maintenance done while the driver's on his reset or anything like that, as you said, it's a lot better than on the side of the interstate.
So I know, another thing that you see out there a lot is in regards to fuel and insurance being probably in the top 3 of expenses to a trucking company that's out there. How are you guys, like, what advice would you give to help manage a driver's fuel burn, or, maybe having a fuel agreement with a truck stop as a smaller fleet? Because, some of those 1 to 5 truck operations don't have the purchasing power of a, mid-size or a larger fleet.
No, you can definitely reach out to a few of the some of the vendors, and you can set up deals if you're willing to push most or all your gallons towards their way. But it also starts with driver behavior. You've got to get the drivers to drive defensively and not burn fuel with excess idling or punching on the accelerator, things like that. So it involves, teaching driver behavior and then working, as you say, with the providers on getting the best deal you can. And as far as safety, you can't put a price on that. That is so important. If you have a good safety record, you're going to get better insurance rates, and your customers are looking at your accident frequency and all that stuff. So you really can't underestimate how important having a good safety department and a good safety team is.
At what level would you advise a company to implement a safety department?
As soon as you can afford it. as soon as you can afford it. I think if you're a 5 or 10 fleet operator, I don't think it's feasible. But at some point, the owner is going to get dragged into, he can't do everything as they grow. And so I'm a big believer in hiring really good people and letting them run their departments. People that run our shop, our safety, our operations, they know a lot more about those particular aspects than I do. So you hire good people, and then you let them do the job that they need to do.
Is there, like I see a lot of potential legislation, about cameras and stuff like that in regards to insurance. And I understand the whole people don't want inward facing cameras, but having those outward facing cameras, because I feel like right now trucking just has a giant bullseye on it. And that logo on the side of a truck and a trailer is very, very visible. That's out there. How do you advise people protect their assets from those situations?
Well, I think cameras are very important. I was late to the dance on that one. I was somewhat hesitant, and we've had them for 3 or 4 years now. And anybody can call me up and I can convince them. I'm a big believer in how important cameras are. They've helped us out way, way more often than any potential downfall might have. And they're great for teaching and coaching drivers on how to handle certain situations. They're really invaluable. There is an upfront cost, but there again, you're going to more than make up for it on the back end of what you save or what you spend with what you save on accident prevention.
So, as we're kind of wrapping up here, this has been great. I really appreciate your time because, everything you're talking about is like tangible things that people can apply to their business. And, with where things are right now, and everybody's got a prediction on the market, and everybody's got, there's a ton of legislation potentially coming down in DC right now. I think this is the most attention trucking has ever gotten in my career on Capitol Hill. How do you advise people silence the noise, John, and focus on their business?
I think it all starts with clarity of what you want to achieve, and you can't get distracted by the noise on either side. You have your vision of what you want to achieve, and there's always going to be things that are out of your control, legislation or weather, as we talked about earlier, or things like that. You have to focus on what you can control, and you can control, your effort and how you show up to work every day. You can't control what happens up in Washington or in the state capitol. So I would tell everybody to focus on what they can control, to work hard and to believe in themselves, and don't ever quit.
That, it's funny. I'm in an entrepreneur group, John, and they essentially say the exact same thing, right? Because there's always something, right? Like there's always going to be something that's coming down that's going to potentially throw you off. And, they always summarize it like that is keep your blinders on, focus on your four walls, and just don't quit. If you don't quit, you can't fail. And it always sounds super simple, but like you have to understand that what you sign up for when you go out on your own to be self-employed and to chase that dream, like it's going to come with hurdles, but like inevitably you get a little bit further down the road and you realize like that hurdle is why you improved in business. Because I wish, and I'm sure you might feel the same way, John, I wish it was just easy. We could put our feet up and just have money deposited every single day without any, any pushback. But
yeah. I think that poem, you choose your own hard, and, it's hard to do this, but it's hard to do other things as well where you're not successful. So if you're going to work hard, you might as well reap the benefits from it as best you can. And yes, you're going to have hurdles, and yes, it's going to be difficult at times, but those make you better. That's what makes you better person, a better company. And on the other side of it, you come out ahead.
I love it. John, thank you so much for your time today. If you guys are hiring or anything like that, put that out there. How do people contact you?
Well, the best place is to go to our website. They can reach us through that. and also follow us on socials on LinkedIn and on Facebook. That's the best ways.
Perfect, John. I appreciate it. If you guys can't find John or Pemberton Truck Lines out there, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with them. But that is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the bag. Hey.